Hi, it's Colleen Schmidt once again from Divination Counseling Service. I'm presenting a video today comparing astrology software. I'm actually looking at Janus Software for astrology. I am a Solar Fire user. I've been using Solar Fire since probably the early 90s when I first started with computers, and I have through the years upgraded until I recently, the last two upgrades I haven't been able to implement because I got used to a certain set of glyphs for asteroids and they began to change them within the program, and it was really hard to edit and keep it there. I don't know, it could have been fixed by now, but it was just too much trouble. And the person that I used to deal with retired, and the new person to deal with, I just didn't have the same connection. So in any event, for about 20 years now, astrologers have been growing slowly over to Janus. I know a lot of people still use Solar Fire. Most people have both. So like I say, for 20 years, people keep talking about this Janus program. I've looked at it, I'm going to say 3 or 4 times in the last 20 years. So we're going to look at it together because I decided to do the 30-day trial in a probability. And when we look at the charts, I can assure you, I probably will take this program. So one of the things I'm doing today is I want to show you that you can do charts on anything, any events, anything you wanted to. And in this case, I want to see how good this astrology program, not just from the perspective of I'm an astrologer and I want to see how good this is, but I want to see the dynamics of this chart versus me. And if this is a good choice for me, and if this will be helpful in the work that I'm doing with you. So we're going to be looking at that. What we're going to be looking at is the charts, the two comparisons. I'm not going to get too deeply into that because I'm only starting with Janus and I really don't know a lot about it. I'll get to that in a moment. I know enough because I'm used to astrology software. I also want to talk about astrology and what it's ruled by, which is Uranus as the planet, Urania and Asteria as the asteroids. And I'm going to show these. Now, Asteria is not on the asteroid list for either program. You can only fit so much on these things, and I probably could have fit more on, particularly Solar Fire, but never wanted to do it because it gets hard to read after a while, and I'm going to show you that even with Janus. I have another program that I get from a man by the name of Mark Pottinger, and it's an asteroid list, so I can literally list out as few, as little as I want or need. And I have some basic lists that I go back to. Some are longer than others. But that's where I work with the 23,000 named asteroids, or however many there are. In our case, Asteria is one of the asteroids that is not. So I pulled that from a list, and I'm going to put it on the chart. So we'll know where it is. So I'm going to start with that to just kind of show the charts. So bear with me here. So here are the charts, and first chart up, I did, this is me working earlier, and I left this up because it was a transit chart before I actually started working with you, and I love that the sun and the moon straddled the midheaven with Mercury right there. So I think this video has some level of importance there, which has made me feel a little happier. So let's look at this chart, okay? Now, I have included with my planets the trans-Neptunians as well, and Chiron, because I could. And that's one of the things I want to show about the program. So just to get started here, I want to talk about how the moon, Vulcanus, so I did feel a little impulsive, not bad though, but anything within 10 degrees of the moon kind of affects it. What's really interesting though is these are on the angle, the sun and Mercury, and they are conjunct, only 7 minutes apart actually, which is really close. But it also is, I think, telling because the object here is that it's software program that I'm going to be using for education and communication. And that showed up right at the midheaven, and I thought, wow. So I didn't even have to get very far into this before I figured some of that out. The other thing I want to point out here, because I think it's really important to look at, is that I let's look at the comparison first of all. When I went to find Urania in here, and this is what you do, is you go in, and I selected, first of all, let's look at the planets, okay? You can see here what's selected. Your list is here. And then I just took the trans-Neptunians. I use these kinds of things, but this doesn't really move. Like the galactic center is always the same place. It's just that it's nice to see these things, the ability to put them in and out of the charts. Okay, fixed stars don't move very much. So, but it's nice to add them into a chart to see where they would fall. Okay, so I'm not going to change that. That's the way that was. Now, I am going to do, oops, I went to the wrong place again, is I'm going to show you the asteroids, because we are Urania and Asteria. And in this case, I love that they offer the centaurs. So I'm putting them all in because I'm still learning the centaurs. I mean, I know them, you know, but I just love it. And if I'm perplexed, let me show you this. You can't really do this to the same level on Solar Fire, but you look at this. You can't see it. You really can't. But if I were to pick something out, okay, and I'm just going to do this. There's Urania. And then you get all of this. And this is my teacher, Martha Lang Westcott. Just in case you want to know, anytime you ever look at Astrology Software, because both Solar Fire and Janus, they do give Martha credit. This is her work. And she's one did all the research. And this does, what is the first word? Astrology, okay? But it's an intellectual framework. That's why computers, okay? So beautiful, beautiful. I wanted to show you that. I love that. Now you can do that on Solar Fire, okay? This is the same chart, by the way. But in Solar Fire, I have to edit a program. I can take the extra wheel point, the ring point off. So I can do that. And it does, but I do like the view of, I do like that I can see better on Solar Fire. So see, they both have their value. But I do want to point this out. Urania, I'm going to find it here, is right there, okay? So for, this one says 31, the other says 32, and sometimes you will get that. So about 4 degrees though, 4 degrees 30 minutes of Libra coming in from the 11th house, okay? See how the houses get all out of shape then because of the extra. And if you're a beginner, that's a mess to look at. But I wanted to point that out. The other thing I want to point out from this chart, and by the way, you can't do that. See what I'm doing? I can't click on this. I could click on this. The planets will come up with a nice detail, but not anything. Like, and see what I really like about this is because I do work a little bit with the centaurs. I really like being able to look that up and have that right in front of me. So I did want to point that out. This, for teaching purposes online, not practical at all. So I, again, probably will not go with that. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to select my planets. They're selected. I'm going to just put that, oops. I think I have to go all the way back, actually. Here we go. There it is. And then when I go back, and you can see me do it. So I have a lot to learn. I'm going to be putting in the planets, and I'm going to add from Cupido. Let's see if I can even do that. Down to Poseidon. Nope. Got to check them all individually. Okay. So we've got enough to work with there. Now, because this is being used for business, Apollon and Apollonia also are very important. So remember, right here, about right here, is where that Urania is. Now the good news is in this chart, this asteroid, or I should say the asteroid for astrology, and since this is an astrology program, ironically, Asteria falls in a 5-degree area. So this is interesting because Apollonia, which is business, falls right in here. It's not here because it's an asteroid, okay? And Apollonia might even be on there, but I can show it on this one. Okay, so we have, here it is, Apollonia at 541. We have Urania at 431. That's definitely an aspect. We got a nemesis in there. Okay, so it's I don't know why we want to blame the astrology program. So, although it is about that, the whole video. So as we go into so we do know that this is about an astrology business. Well, in this case, an astrology software business. Okay, and it is in a golden triangle with, and I'll find it in a second here, Scorpio right next door, Asteria from the 12th house. So though you would say to yourself, well, it's 542, well, anything within a degree, so that Asteria, Asteria, sorry, I keep saying it wrong, Asteria is actually also about astrology, and I was coming from the 12th. It's in the golden triangle, and it is with Apollonia just as much as Urania herself is. So this is all about the astrology business here. I just love it. I mean, that's just so perfect. The other thing that's so perfect is the Sun and Uranus right up here at the midheaven, and I'll show you in this chart where it's easier to see. Look at that, with a 9th house moon for education, which is why I'm looking at it. And this point here is very significant to me natally, okay? I have a major T-squares going on anywhere between, and a lot of stuff going on at the 1 degree point. I have everything from golden triangles to real grand trines to, so that 1 degree is really important. And then it's a major point of a T-square in my chart, a major, what I could call double barred T-square. So that is an important part in my chart. And I do feel some pressure these days. So I thought that was really wonderful. It is about digging into other people's stuff, and it is about research, okay, which is real important right there, okay, that Hades. Hades is actually strong in my own personal chart. Now, I will show you the dial on here, but I can't really, the dial is tough for me on here. I need to add, and it looks like I can add more dials. So I probably will be, just because I can. This dial for me is a little tough, okay? Because I need, I'm like right up in here is where we need to be, for example, right around 5 degrees. And I'm not really, I mean, I'm able to see some of the, like I can see these midpoints, but again, it's easier to see on this one. So there's, again, everything has its advantages. I mean, some things are good in some ways. So as you can see, I've been looking at this one. All right, so I set this one in Apollon and Vista because Apollon is a trans-Neptunian already on there, and it's business. And in this case, it's goal-oriented business, which of course it is. And I love the Hades Sun and the Hades Mercury because Hades is research. Astrologers, myself included, generally have very strong Hades. It means that we make a lot of mistakes in our emails and when I speak, sometimes I make words up. But and also cursing. But the reality is that it's wonderful for research, and all of us that have very strong Hades do enjoy research. So that's a great way to use that energy. The thing I wanted to look at, though, right at 5 degrees, because we have it, Apollonia and Urania. Go about there. Okay, look at, I mean, it's just wonderful. Uranus, midheaven. That's significant to me. I mean, it's just wonderful. Even the Zeus Neptune, because the people that I'm dealing with, I don't really see or know face to face. I get to know them as I've done for many, many decades. Since I'm a 12th house sun, I do prefer working behind the scenes. So, but I love that Uranus, midheaven. It's again about astrology and the astrologer, the ascendant. This is an equatorial ascendant with the moon. Talks about women, but it's also the general public, which I think is really, really cool. And this is just really great stuff. Now, If I were to add, say, especially to come around down here, okay, this around here with 29.5 is another axis of this. So we have the Venus ascendant, we have Admetus known, which is the way, the format we're working. I'm working in my office by myself. No one's here, but yet you're here. So what a great concept. I just love this stuff. The Uranus with Jupiter. That's what I'm trying to do, expand astrology. Good stuff, really good stuff. And this is in the axis, if you will, of Urania and Apollonia. Okay, so the astrology business. Down here, and I'm pointing this out because this is a really strong point in my particular chart. So since I'm looking to buy this, we do want to make that comparison. This is a very strong placement for me, okay? The Hades Sun, the Hades Mercury, that's hitting my Venus, Mercury, a few other things, Jupiter, Neptune, I have a lot. So and Uranus, not far from there. I love that this Uranus is not far from my Uranus too. So I'm in here, but this moon is like my Mercury. I mean, this is bizarre world, okay? So it is right now, for me, this astrologer, there's no doubt that I should buy this program. And that's the kind of thing that I think that people should do. I mean, it's $250. It's not a lot of money, but why not? Why not look at it? Now realize that if you were buying astrology for photography, or if you were buying astrology, if you were buying software for photography, if you were buying a new sewing machine, since I do a lot of that, you can look at that too, okay? That also is a tool. You can see, is this a day to do that? Pull up the chart, pull up, look at it. Look, when you decide to do something, buy that house, oh, please do a chart on it. You'll get so much information. And again, because of the asteroids, we can literally go in there and even get more. You know, we know from these charts between the Jupiter and the Sun, we know with the Neptune, okay, not just here, you know, I can't, and you can see it's about a decision. I just had to point that out. This I do need, and this will continue to be a teaching aid as well as this dial. If I can get this dial in Janus, wow, because of the click-on abilities. But unfortunately, I can't, and so I have to, here we go, I have to kind of do things this way. And there's without the trans-Neptunian. And maybe that would be better. So I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Now, before I close out, I did talk about Urania, Apollonia, Asteria, Apollon. So we got 4, 1 trans-Neptunian and 3 asteroids in for this session, this little learning, if you will, this little lesson. So I want to continue with that because I want, and also to talk about how Uranus figures in. And Hades. So actually we've gone through a few things. So I want to look at that, and I'm going to do something that you shouldn't really do. I'm going to show my chart for 1 second here. And I'm going to show you on my chart, there it is. Okay, so I have Urania right there, right off the ascendant. Now it is retrograde, okay? But my ascendant sun both aspect that Urania. So I am an astrologer. Hades is down here with Pallas, but look at all of these things going against it, okay? So isn't that funny? But what I want to point out is this is where Apollon is right now, okay? So my ability to expand, and don't discount this 1 degree or this 1 degree. Because when I switch to a dial, they're all going to be in the same spot. Here we are. Okay, so everything's here. Look at that. It just builds and builds. So this is a really, and this is where Apollon is, okay, which is not bad aspect to that Urania. And oh, and my Asteria is up with my Saturn. I do want to talk about that too. I'm a teacher. I teach everything I do. That's this up here, and it's in the 10th house, but it's with Cassandra, Apollonia. Everything I do, I teach. I really do. I teach a lot, and I do deal a lot with confidential information. Sometimes I worry that I do talk too much, even though I try never to do that. But things come out, you know. So, but that's something I'm always mindful of. Now, that is where, right there, in there, here it is, Asteria. See that? Right there. Actually, it is in this one, in this asteroid list. So it does show up, okay? So that is, for me, another kind of intense area of the chart. Here we go. Look at that. My Apollon is there as well. So we've got a lot, Apollonia, Apollon, Saturn. I make a business out of teaching. This software will be used for teaching. So I wanted to go through that a little bit. There are other things I could do that show my interest in astrology, Uranus sun. So there's a lot of things, but I also like to work on myself. Here, okay? That's also in some of the astrology for the software. So with that said, let's come back. Let's come back to me. And let's end, as it's really run on anyway. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I hope it was educational. I hope that people who are astrologers are looking at that software. I hope that was helpful. But what I really want to say here is, if you have any questions about either software as an astrologer, please contact me through the website. I'll get back to you within 24 hours at divinationcounselingservice.org. You can leave comments on the YouTube. I also check that. So although, you know, sometimes a comment might go on longer there before I get to it, but I really do try to keep up with this stuff. I'm very excited to get this stuff up and running and going. Please comment. Let me know what you think of the Janus program and the visuals. I'd love to hear from you. So like, comment, share. Do what people do. It's online. In any event, till we meet again, happy readings.